My name's Paul, and I've had bowel cancer, which I had the operation on the December the 14th, 2014. When I had the examination, and they take you into a small room where the people who have performed the diagnosis or the actual examination sit you around the table, and then somebody says to you that is your wife or your partner with you, and all of a sudden you tend to realise there's something not quite right now. And they went and got my partner, and we sat down there, and there was two consultants and the person who actually examined me with the instrument. And they go through a scheme where they tell you what is wrong, and it's very simple in the sense that you actually go numb. You don't know what to say, you don't know what to do, you don't know if you should cry, you don't know if you should run. And it's a very harrowing experience. Is the first time that somebody tells you have cancer. I think on the day itself, I actually was taken up to the ward on the day of the operation. Prior to that, one of the best bits of advice I'd had was from a person who lives opposite where we live in Anside, and he did tell me a couple of weeks before this, he says the best thing to do is accept that people are going to do things to your body and let them do it, don't fight it. And I think on the day itself, the nearer I got to the day, the easier it became. The biggest problem with anything like this is because I knew nothing about anything to do with cancer or the operation itself or anything, and I didn't really want to know, was the fact that you have time to think about it. The nearer it gets to the day of the operation, it actually in fact becomes a slight release, because of the fact that you know it's going to be over with. And on the day of the operation, we were taken up to the ward after signing the various consent forms and various things. Taken up to the ward, and they sat in the bed, and we sat there for about 3 hours. And I think the scariest thing I had was that the theatre nurse eventually came to take the measurements from the stockings and various things, and she said, before I start to do anything, there is possibility of a 2% chance of mortality, which a few hours before an operation is not a pleasant word to be told. And I can actually remember, for once I actually lost it, and I got up, I had to walk, because it's not a nice thing to be told that. Well, I think the first thing when you're eventually woken up by somebody on a trolley is it's total relief, in the sense that that 2% chance didn't quite work. And I think the first thing is, it is relief that you have survived this operation. And you don't realise the amount of time. I was probably in there for about 5 or 6 hours, and that is just like a complete blur. I didn't move, and eventually I moved, and it was actually such a relief to actually be able to do that without total fear. Well, I think once you've actually got over the first night, and you actually in fact realise that, I actually felt exceptionally well. I was told by one of the nurses before that the third day you can actually suffer from depression. The first day, because you've got over the actual examination, or the operation should I say, is you're over that initial fear. The second day it's still there, and the third day you can actually suffer from depression. I think, to be honest with you, I recovered quicker than I ever experienced or thought I would do, and I had very little pain. Within the first day I was up and moving around, and really it's as though it's just another experience. In a sense, it was I recovered very quickly. On the day itself, I think both myself as well as John, we couldn't wait to get out quick enough, is the honest truth, because I think the only slight problem I'd have to say, being on a bowel cancer ward, is a certain amount of smells that you don't realise happen on wards. And I think the problem is from my experience, I'd never been in hospital before. So the whole experience of being looked after in a bed and being told what to do was a totally different experience. So the quicker, from my point of view, I could get out and have some control over myself, the better. Well, we had various people from the hospital would ring up to see how you were on a daily basis, probably. And I think one of the more important things I had was a phone call, probably about 4 or 5 days after the operation, from one of the nurses at Lancaster Royal Infirmary, was that when they did the operation and they took out a section of the bowel, that bowel and the test they give the lymph glands, which I didn't realise they did in the operation, are sent off. And they basically phoned back to say that everything was in sense clear, in the sense that the cancer had not spread through the walls of the bowel, as well as the lymph glands were all clear, which was a very pleasant Christmas present, because that happened about 4 or 5 days before Christmas. But generally speaking, I thought the backup and the after service was excellent. And since then, we've had I've been to 2 checkups. Both times, everything seems to be going in the right direction, and I don't have to go back now until sometime towards the end of this year.